Hi everyone, I'm Bella and welcome to Bella in Bed. Please ignore my hair. It's been a rough morning. And yeah. I wanted to do a little talk about Abbie Chatfield. Having a bit of hindsight and looking back, I shouldn't have really been that excited. And I feel a bit down and disappointed. She was an idol to me. I looked up to her. She was the only woman that I looked up to. But she spoke about me, and after an email, she didn't want anything to do with me. But before I talk about that, I wanted to talk about my history with endometriosis. At the moment, I don't have endometriosis, although it could have grown back. You never know. Please give me a bit, because it is a huge thing to talk about. I started getting endometriosis at the age of 12, 13, and by my second period, I started getting lots of pain. I was going to have surgery when I was 13, but I chickened out. I wasn't given pre-meds or willed into surgery. Now that happens. And then I found a new gynae, and she told me everything that she was going to do. Went in, supposed to be an hour, turned out to be 3 to 4 hours of her removing endometriosis. And back then I lived in Adelaide. So, living in Adelaide was pretty shit, if I tell you. Don't like living in Adelaide. Melbourne has been so much more better for me. So I have lived with endometriosis since I was 12, 13 years old. When I moved to Melbourne in 2022, I was back and forth to many gynecologists, had surgeries to remove my endometriosis, and then I found Simon Gordon. Now, with Simon Gordon, he completely understood my pain. I had about 3 surgeries with him, and he had told me that I had stage 4 endometriosis and that I needed a pain specialist and rehabilitation and, just extra support. So I got that extra support. I had a ketamine infusion last August, and my pain was good for about 2 months. And then my pain came back again. When I went to him, he had said that he told me to go through an internal ultrasound, which I wasn't very happy with, because I'm not active, and I wasn't active. So I was very nervous about it. It was very painful, to the point that I had to have an ambulance called. And I had to go to hospital. When I went back to see him, he had told me that my left ovary is not moving. And so whenever I have my period, that is why I have pain. So, what happened was, he had scheduled the earliest surgery for me, but then I only know days, I don't know dates. On a Saturday, he had called me up and said that he was retiring so he could be with his family. Okay, I thought maybe someone's unwell, someone's sick, and he has to be with his family. On that Monday, I was very suicidal, and I had to go to hospital because of it. I was then admitted in for a couple of days, and then on the Thursday, that is when ABC had called me and told me about what Simon Gordon has done. I got all of my pathology results, and I had got all the notes from Simon Gordon and everything, and it looked like I didn't have endo at all. I didn't have stage 4 endometriosis. The pathology results had said that there was no endometriosis at all. So what I found terrifying is that he was able to butcher me and do whatever he wanted. He had circled the little to no endometriosis, and in his own words put DIE, deep infiltrating endometriosis. Now, I'm still disappointed in myself that I should have asked more questions, like I said on my interview. I should have, researched more and done a whole lot more investigation into what I should be doing. Fast forward to today, I now have a multidisciplinary team at a pain rehab. I have a multidisciplinary team at Sunshine Hospital. I have a physiotherapist, a dietitian, and a nutritionist. At the moment, I have seen a gynecologist once at Sunshine Hospital. My next appointment is in September. And I feel very optimistic about it all. I have been listened to, but I do want to say, I want to thank my mum. My mum was the one that had called the Victorian Health Department and had asked questions about, what kind of supports for victims of Simon Gordon. And that is when I now have all these supports that have been available to me. My mum is like a superstar. I can't thank her enough. If I ever get rich, I'm going to give her as much money so she can retire. And so I just, my mum's my rock, and she's done so much for me. And now that I'm 25, I got to give her a bit of slack so she can live her own life. But yeah, that was just a little memo just to thank my mum, because she was the one that sorted all these things out for me. I also do want to thank this guy here. I do believe he is looking down on me, and he is giving me signs. I see him in my dreams a lot, and I believe that dreams are spiritual. So, yeah. So thank you to my mum, and thank you to Oliver Tree. Now, with this Abbie Chatfield thing, I'm very disappointed in how she has started with all this endometriosis stuff. She spoke about me on one of her episodes where she had watched my Four Corners report, and she spoke about me and my mental health. Now, I know I was only on for 5 minutes. I wasn't really one of the top victims, and I probably didn't really show a lot of impression or I can't remember the word, but yeah, I wasn't that. I'm not even doing cuts on this because I can't be stuffed. I can't be stuffed with editing at the moment. Impactful. I wasn't very impactful from what I think. And so having her talk about my story, listening back to it, it felt very judgy, as if I shouldn't have done what I did. And back then, I was really excited to the point that I had emailed the executive producer and said that I am more than open to have I was more than welcome and happy enough to be interviewed by Abbie, because I was strong enough to talk about my story, and I was swept under the rug. Now, this person, I am not going to name names. You will probably already know who the executive producer's name is. They just swept it under the rug, saying, oh, we'll let Abbie know and see if she wants to do it. I haven't heard anything. Nothing that Abbie wanted to interview me, but she would rather interview a male gynecologist who thinks women with endometriosis are ugly. Now, that makes me a little bit angry, because what should have happened was she should have done an interview with the victim instead of answering all your endo questions. My mum listened to the episode for me, so I didn't get triggered about Professor Jason Abbott. My mum said that there wasn't anything bad out of it, which I will agree with her, but I'm going to take with a little grain of salt what a man will say about a woman's body. I will never believe a man again after Simon Gordon. And I do not believe what Jason Abbott has to say. Not that I am trying to kick off on Jason Abbott. It's just, I don't believe in men anymore. I will never believe what a man will say. I will never believe the facts that they have found And I just won't ever believe in men again. The only men that I was comfortable with was Oliver Tree, a comedian named Callum Strafford, and the boys from One Direction. They're the only men that I am safe and comfortable with. I think when I say I won't believe a man, I won't believe a male gynecologist. Now, I spoke with a woman. Her Instagram is Pinchygram. Now, I did a few dot points about our conversation, about Abbie, and from what I have written down, yes, I want to ask Abbie why she would not interview victims of Simon Gordon, but she's more than happy to interview sex workers. The issue I find of that is, there was an issue in the sex working industry, and sex workers who are victims, or who portrayed themselves as victims, was able to have interviews with Abbie Chatfield. But when she spoke about and did one, hello Charlie, this is Charlie. Ooh. Say hello, say hi, say hi. Okay. She did many episodes. I was a listener. And she did many episodes about the sex work industry. Why do one episode about the Scarred episode that I was on, the Four Corners episode? Why do one episode and then do an episode talking with a male gynecologist? Yes, I understand he's a professor, but why not ask the victims, me, who was more than happy to have an interview with Abbie? Why wasn't I able to be interviewed? If she has questions, I'm happy to answer. I am happy to sit in front of her and tell her what happened to me. Because I was only on Four Corners for 5 minutes, and it was only about my mental health. I'm not saying that Four Corners didn't do a lot for me. They did an amazing job, and they won an award for it, and I commend them for their work. I am just trying to ask, why do one episode about the Four Corners that I was on and not want to talk to the victims, who is me, that is happy to talk to you? That's what I find really frustrating, is that you do one episode and then you go and be like, oh, I'll talk to a male about this. Why not talk to the victims? Why not ask what happened? Why this happened? I'm going through lawyers at the moment. And this is going to be a long, hard road that I'm going to take. And I am happy to sit down in front of Abbie and tell her everything Anything that she asks me, I will answer. And I believe that listening back, her voice was a bit judgy, and her message to that episode was a bit disingenuous. I'm not quite happy about how she spoke about my story. I was back then, and I think I was just really excited because someone I looked up to, knows who I am and has noticed me. But listening back to it, it was very disingenuous, very judgmental, and just again swept under the rug. She just spoke about my mental health, and that was it. My mental health is so complex. I have complex PTSD because of 2 assaults and Simon Gordon. I feel like I've just been, and not just myself, but I am talking for me here. I feel like I'm just being left on the sidelines. I am not someone who makes videos a lot. I like to make TikToks, but I don't make these types of videos. I just... it just really hurts me. And although she is allowed to not ask for permission to talk about me, it was just... if she wanted to talk about me, she could have also asked to interview me as well. Because I am happy to have an interview with anyone. Literally anyone. I don't care who calls me, who emails me. I am happy to answer that and go, yes, I can be interviewed. I am more than happy to be interviewed. This issue needs to be said more. We are being swept under the rug because we are women. And I have not heard anything from our former Premier or Victoria Police about their investigation about Simon Gordon. What happened to it? When that episode came out, everybody spoke about it and it was such an uproar. And then all of a sudden, they stopped talking about it. And I think it's because we are women, and we are women with endometriosis. And I still think, please tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think endometriosis is considered a disability. That was Cleo. So, if Abbie would like to sit down and have a conversation with me, I'm still more than happy to. If there is anyone else who is more than happy to interview me, my email is isabella.ganji@icloud.com. I will not be telling you my number. But if you want to call me, I will provide my number in the email. But yeah, I think that's enough talk for today. I'm Bella. You have been watching Bella in Bed. And thank you so much for listening to my rant. Okay, have a good day. Bye.